Arsenal and Chelsea played yesterday at the Bridge. Ends up being a 1-1 draw. Very competitive from both sides. A lot to break down. Let's get into it. As an Arsenal fan, I got to give Chelsea a ton, and I mean a ton of credit. The way that Chelsea came out, especially in those first, I would say 20 to 25 minutes, really even 30 minutes, they just looked like they wanted it more. They looked more physical. They looked like they were just hungrier overall. And, you could see them kind of giving Arsenal a little bit of problems here and there with a little bit of their press. I wouldn't say their press was as aggressive as it was against Barcelona, but still, you knew that was going to be a factor. And I just thought Chelsea were really up to it. Again, they matched Arsenal's physicality, something that I haven't been able to say really in years because Arsenal, as you know, if you are a big football fan, Arsenal are one of the most, if not the most physical team in all of the sport. So to see that from Chelsea, especially with them being the youngest team in the Prem as well, I just thought it spoke levels about, the players and really Maresca and his coaching staff because they knew what they were getting themselves into. And we ended up seeing that on Sunday. I mean, Arsenal had 13 fouls and Chelsea had 12. Arsenal had 6 yellow cards. Chelsea had 1. And then, of course, get the red in the 38th minute where Caicedo just had way too crazy of a challenge. And really that was, I felt like the boiling point of where the game was just because, again, this game almost was an NFL game with the way it was moving. It was just so stop, start the game again, stop, start the game again, etc. It was just so much fouling that you really couldn't even, I guess, have a great judgment of how both teams were playing on the, attacking end because, again, it was just so much fouling on both ends. And it was just that type of game. But again, I wanted to just give Chelsea credit because not that I didn't think this game was going to be tough as an Arsenal fan, but can you blame me for thinking Arsenal were going to win this game on Sunday? I mean, with the form that they were going into, just how they've been this year, Chelsea have had some stinkers here and there. I thought Arsenal would be up for it. And I knew Chelsea would be up for it, though. But to keep it at a draw, again, at the Bridge, I just thought it was such a big moment for them because they are still trying to, fight in this title race. And again, they're just so young. It was just such a huge match for them, even if they didn't win all 3 points. As we got to halftime, Saliba, he scored pretty much almost instantly right after half. He scores, of course, also on a corner, gave Arsenal pretty much a taste of their own medicine. And overall, I mean, I really can't hate it if it's just a good corner. It sucks when it happens to you. This is how everyone else must feel when they're, playing against Arsenal. But hey, again, props off to Chelsea. They scored first. But Arsenal did fight back, which I really, really appreciated. And I actually thought that they were going to potentially go for the win after this. But, we'll get into that. Saka has a pretty nice cross. Ends up somehow getting it to Marino. He heads it in. He scores. And again, at that point, I was like, okay, we've equalized. Chelsea are down to 10 men. Let's go for it. At that point, that's where I started to get a little disappointed with Arsenal. Not necessarily in, I guess, like I thought they played awful. I mean, I did not think Arsenal played good, but it was more just I was expecting a little bit more, especially with some of the subs that, Arteta made, which I didn't hate as the game went on. Like, he went so attacking heavy. Like, he put Odegaard on. He got Nani Madueke on at some point for Martinelli. I'm trying to think if he brought on Miles Lewis-Skelly, took off Calafiori. Like, he made some moves. And I just thought, against a 10-man Chelsea that they could have done it. They almost did it, but Gyökeres was going for the header and Timber got in the way. It is what it is. But still, you take a point. But, man, it was just a very back-and-forth game. I thought it was very, very tight of a game. Both sides really, again, looked up for it. I thought, again, though, that Chelsea brought more energy. Arsenal looked a little tired almost, I would say, and just fatigued from this crazy week that they've had. Not an excuse, but just being honest. But I am very much looking forward to this result. I think it's in February when they come to the Emirates because, number one, I just want to beat them. Number two, we hopefully, if nothing goes wrong, we'll have Gabriel and Saliba actually starting in that game. So I think that's really going to make an impact and hopefully will be enough of a deciding factor to get Arsenal, those 3 points and just get a win over Chelsea. And again, I thought Arsenal had their worst game of the season. It really was just more from a playing standpoint. Again, Chelsea were dictating play at times just from being more physical. Arsenal did end up getting more possession, which was great, but also expected when they go down to 10 men. And it really was, I guess, just for me, a couple things with Arsenal. I just felt like they weren't as clinical with some of the chance taking yesterday, especially in the second half. I mean, there really were some opportunities. Again, the Gyökeres one, but Timber gets in the way. I feel like Saka had some really good chances, but he just didn't finish. Trying to think about who else. Like, I know someone else had a decent chance and we just didn't get it done. But overall, I just thought Arsenal could have been a little bit more clinical there. And also, for me personally, this is nitpicking, but I don't understand why we started Martinelli. Why did we start Martinelli? The formula all year has been Martinelli sees success when you bring him on in like the 70th minute against tired legs. Then he can, use what he does best, which is his pace and his speed and his ability to just keep going and do that against tired legs. I didn't really understand why, you start him over Nani Madueke. I also expected a little bit more out of Madueke when he came on. He kind of looked like, I don't know, he was looking like he was smiling a lot with his old teammates, like almost looked like he was a little rattled. I could be completely wrong and misreading that, but it looked like the moment was getting to him a little bit. But yeah, I would have preferred to start Madueke, then go to Martinelli, just because that formula's worked. I just didn't really see much out of Martinelli in that first half and really midway through the second half until Madueke came on. So that's one thing I would have changed, I guess. But overall, I just think Arsenal needed to be more clinical. And yeah, that's really all I wanted to say about them, just because when you look at the overall grand scheme of things, I don't necessarily hate the point. I even said going into this week this last week that, if you would have gotten maybe 2 wins and maybe a loss or a draw, I don't think I would have been mad. But I think it's just the way that the game went. Again, where they just didn't capitalize on chances, especially with 10 men. But again, there's also context that needs to be provided. Like I had mentioned earlier, Gabriel and Saliba were out. They were out. I mean, Mascara and Henkepe, I don't know if I'm ever saying this guy's name right. I got to figure it out. They just looked a little chaotic. Not as good. I mean, Saliba was a healthy scratch pretty much, or like was a very late second scratch, so I don't blame either of them for maybe not being as ready as they felt, but still, one of them was going to start. It wasn't the classic Arsenal back end, and you would have just expected a little bit more. But I would like to see with all context though. Excuse me, I was going to say what I would like to see. What I would like to see is, again, seeing this at the Emirates. But with all context, though, I don't hate a point at Chelsea because Arsenal didn't win there last year. They didn't win there the year before. It's been a tough place for them to go. And again, it's just the week you had. You just battered Spurs a week ago. You had a massive win against Bayern Munich in the Champions League. And then you're going against a scrappy Chelsea side who just had a statement victory against Barcelona on Tuesday last week. So there's just a lot to again consider. Arsenal are still 5 points ahead of Manchester City. Manchester City has now gotten themselves into second with a win over Leeds yesterday. Chelsea are in third, but they're only behind City with 1 point. So there's a lot to process, a lot to think about. I don't think this derails your season as Arsenal. But again, I think moving forward, it's just, hey, there's some things we need to clean up. I'm really not going to be overreacting. But still, you want to beat Chelsea. You want to capitalize on 10 men. But I think this hopefully is almost like a little bit of a moment for the guys to kind of use, I guess, moving forward to just be like, hey, when we do get an opponent to make a mistake, we have to capitalize. And we didn't do that versus Chelsea. Again, Henkepe, however you say his name, and Mascara, they're going to be in these situations again at some point, whether it's them playing and just subbing in for both Saliba and Gabriel, or one of them has to come in for a big game. You're going to have to be ready for these on the road, and we'll have to see that. So that's kind of where I'm at with Arsenal. Again, I'm not necessarily mad. It was just more of a disappointing result, but just how the game went. I thought they could have won it. They almost did. They didn't. Again, I'll take it over a loss, but still, it would have been great to win 3 straight games this whole week. I mean, it would have been one of the best weeks in Arsenal's history, at least modern history. But yeah, that's all I had on this one. If you like this video, feel free to give it a like. If you like this type of content, feel free to subscribe. I'm going to be continuing to break down Arsenal, the Prem, the UCL, just so much. There's so much to discuss moving forward. Again, if you have any thoughts on the game, drop them in the comments down below. My TikTok will be in the description. If you made it this far in the video, I greatly, greatly appreciate you. And I will see you guys in the next one. Peace, guys.